Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Andrew Mesa.
What is Dave?
Back with another sort of rapid review. This time we're going to be talking about Bright, because it is not quite all the way a horror movie, but it is a movie we all saw with some horror elements in it.
It was a horror movie. It's
All
in
right.
the horror little category.
Sure. Okay, fair enough. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into this. We'll do it like we normally do. We'll talk about our overall thoughts. We'll talk about the story, the acting, the effects, all of that good stuff in turn. But my overall thoughts were, I didn't hate it as much as everyone else did, but I certainly didn't think it was a shining moment for Will Smith or Joel Edgerton or anyone
David
involved. David Ayer, yeah. I mean, they've all done better stuff in the past, but what I will give it credit for is mashing up two genres I never thought I'd see mashed up and doing it in a visually successful way.
Okay.
So I'll say that. Andrew?
I liked it. I heard the critics kind of ripped it to pieces. It was a big budget movie that I guess didn't pan out well, but
They're already making a sequel.
the fan reaction was actually pretty good. The people that watched the movie that weren't critics, for publications and stuff, really actually liked it. It was, you're watching it on Netflix, you're watching it on the couch, you're not looking at it at a theater. It's kind of weird to have the dichotomy, but I liked it. I thought it was cool concept, from concept all the way through to how they did the practical, the digital, all the good stuff. So I liked it.
Cool. Dave?
I did enjoy it overall, but there were a lot of things that I didn't like, and there's a few things that really bugged me.
Okay.
But I would say it was a successful Netflix big budget film.
Yeah.
So hopefully they'll keep making them, and I think the fact that they had Will Smith and David Ayers from Suicide Squad, I think that helped a lot in getting it made for Netflix.
Training Day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Training Day.
Training Day with wizards and orcs and
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and I actually
Or
really
End of Watch.
yeah, and I
thing.
really liked the makeup effects. I heard
Yes.
somebody talking about how they weren't that good. I thought they were great.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Get to that. So, okay, overall,
Then overall, I didn't think the story was all that great. So that's where I had problems with it. But
underwhelming. Okay.
yeah, overall, I did enjoy it.
Fair enough. Well, the story basically is it's about Will Smith, who is basically coming off of being injured on the job when his brand new orc partner was getting them hot dogs when he got shot by a criminal. And so he has this inherent distrust for orcs, and especially the one that failed him in short order after being assigned to him as a partner. But they still are partners, having to try and solve this case involving a magical wand that has surfaced that is apparently a supremely destructive force in most hands, let alone bad hands.
Right.
This is a world...
Unless you're bright.
Unless you're bright, right. And this is a world in which it's sort of like our world post Lord of the Rings. So all of the orcs who were serving the big bad was defeated, so now the orcs were forced into integrating with society. And then there are elves who sort of represent the higher echelons of society. Mm-hmm. And Will Smith and his partner are just the lowly police officers that are tasked with keeping the peace, and you see that orcs sort of represent the inner city sort of thug component in a few different areas and things like that. Like, it's a lot of allegorical stuff that is way in your face.
Yeah.
So it doesn't entirely work on that level. So you have to kind of try and look at it as a fantasy frontline police drama crossover.
Right.
And in that way, I thought it worked. It was kind of underwhelming, but it still worked. So that's the thing. They're trying to find this wand, and then once they find the wand, they have to protect the wand, and that's the long and short of the story. So, Andrew, what did you think of the actual story of the movie?
There were some pretty big, I don't even want to call them plot holes. Like there's a part at the gas station where the Hispanic guy that they trust handcuffs him, and then 5 minutes later they're unhandcuffed. There was no reason to handcuff him. things like that. People nitpicked about this. To me, I was along for the ride. I was like, oh, well, the handcuffs or not handcuffed doesn't really matter. If there was a battle, there was a whole battle scene that came right after that. Easily forgettable, that little thing. But people, I don't know, people were harping on little tiny things like that. To me, there were some things where you're like, why would they do? Why are you walking into a club full of people you're trying to get away from? Things like that. But again, I'm just along for the ride. I didn't have high expectations. I didn't look at it as like a theater movie. It was a Netflix thing. With nothing that I was getting too invested in. So those critiques I heard, and I didn't share the same thing. Like I said, I was along for the ride. I could overlook the plot holes because there was enough action, there was enough story with the fantasy element and all that stuff to kind of just push past those things. So,
yeah.
Yes, it was flawed, but my expectations weren't it to be not flawed. So.
Fair enough. Dave?
Well, my biggest issue with the story was that Will Smith was just Will Smith. He didn't bring anything
well, he wasn't
special.
even the super charismatic Will Smith.
Right,
he was the distrustful Will Smith the whole fucking movie.
He didn't add anything to. I mean, he was great. I mean, he's good, but he didn't add anything to this story as far as like make it more enjoyable. I also thought kind of what you were saying, where like if there were little things that were annoying, you could get past them because there was decent action in it. But also, I felt like a lot of the action was sort of like half as much as what we would have expected from a theatrical release. They were in a gunfight, and they're just like hiding below the car, and the orc had never been in a gunfight before.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of neat, but then they didn't really punch that home.
Yeah.
It was kind of like it was like a throw off. I'd never been in a fight before, but now he's been in a fight.
Not just to go further with that. These people literally ran through everybody with reflex, pinpoint accuracy, and all this stuff at the club, and then they can't pin. They literally couldn't put one bullet in either of those two people in the next scene.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where, like you said, the consistency with fighting and all that kind of stuff. Maybe it wasn't there, but again, I'm seeing flashing. I'm watching a guy get hit by a car and pushed into walls. Like I'm blinded by it.
And then the last thing I was going to point out was the two elf investigators. I didn't think they were that great. Like I felt like
they were meant to play like a lack of emotion. And they played that up.
Sure. But it didn't seem. It seemed like they were just following the story. They weren't part of the story.
Okay.
It felt like they were just like always catching up to stuff.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like they were actually driving any part of the story. It felt like they were just following Will Smith and his orc buddy.
Right.
And so
That's fair. So I kind of agree. I thought Will Smith was a bit lackluster as far as the acting goes.
Will Smith.
I liked Joel Edgerton as the orc.
He was good.
But there was no story that I was like super into. Like, ooh, I really need to find out what's happening here. Like, it was just sort of blah, okay across the board, and I was just hoping for more. But they were okay, and honestly, I think Numi Repis was one of the elves.
Oh right, the girl, the other bright,
the evil bright elf. Like that we saw a lot, and she was okay.
Well, and she had some cool fucking scenes when she was killing people.
Yeah, like they made her
cool.
really badass, but still the characters were just shallow.
Yeah.
So that was a bit of a bummer. Not a lot of.
It's like he had to develop the world, and he didn't have time to develop all of the characters.
Right.
So all the characters got half what they should have gotten. Like they even did that whole backstory with the orc. He let the one kid go because it wasn't the right orc.
Yeah.
So I mean, they kind of tried to give everybody a little bit of a story, but like you said, it kind of all gets muddy in the end.
Yeah. Now I think the last big thing to talk about with this one is the effects.
Right.
Because there was tons of both practical and visual effects in the movie, and I thought at the very least all of it was competent to excellent.
Yeah.
I thought a lot of the digital effects, especially involving the wand, I thought were excellent.
They were cool.
I thought a lot of the practical effects were competent to good.
Yeah.
A lot
And
of
I
the
like the
orcs
practical
were
makeup.
pretty basic, but
But see, that's the thing. I mean, what's an orc though? An orc is just a very
with lower tusks.
Yeah,
apparently.
yeah. I mean, I liked the practical makeup that they did, and I
Okay.
thought the elves looked cool. They had a really neat production design thing where the elves lived in this like walled off city, and it was like a much cleaner section of LA, like Beverly Hills.
Right.
So I liked the rich and the poor, fantasy worlds.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought they did a really good job with the special effects when it came to the digital stuff, but also when it came to the makeup stuff.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it.
I liked the whole spectrum. My personal favorite part was when the battle put one of the fairies into the wall. Everybody sees that with the chick that's like half into the wall or whatever. That was literally just to put her at bay.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was like, all right, you stay here for right now. And that's what it looked like. So I think they could have shown us a little more with that kind of stuff. You have a wand. You have all capabilities of magic. And we saw, 2 or 3 kind of cool things. I didn't understand the whole, if you have it in your hand, you blow up. Unless you're bright,
yeah.
Because I watched 4 or 5 other people hold the wand. They just had a glove on. That doesn't make any
Right.
sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Skin contact.
Okay, but even so,
I know it's a rough line.
There were some things again.
Build
I
your
could
mythos on.
I could plow past it, but I guess a lot of people, I think they wanted to buy in. They wanted to buy into a new world and have all these detailed characters.
Well, it is a really cool idea.
It is. And like I said, I think
So,
people wanted more from the idea because it was so cool. They had their expectations high, and then they realized, wow, they didn't really write these characters to be super complicated. They didn't really give the backstories that we were expecting.
Right.
They just kind of said, here it is.
Mhm.
So maybe in the second one they clean stuff up. Maybe they go into detail more, and they are able to kind of intertwine and make a better thing. But I'm glad that it just got some attention. People were talking about it. No press is, or bad press.
Bad press is better than no press.
Sure, yeah. So it's good that they're trying it again. Hopefully, are they gonna get Will Smith back on the second one?
Yeah, supposedly. Yeah.
I thought, like I said,
Well, he and David Ayers have this relationship now. They did Suicide Squad together. Then they did this.
Oh, that's what I want to say. The soundtrack was something that a lot of people were talking about too. That got a lot of publicity on its own. Just the soundtrack.
I thought it was okay.
Well, I think you're kind of seeing more people.
They had like some orc rap in there.
Well,
really?
Yeah, they had a couple.
You're going away from like the old school scores where it's just the orchestra and it's written, and you're getting more like music that's oriented
orchestra.
to be. I see.
Oh,
But I don't know. I like that part of it too. So, like I said, I was pleased by most of it. There were things that I obviously saw that people ripped apart, but I just thought to look past them and keep going.
Yeah.
Fair enough. That's not a bad way to look at movies nowadays, and that's kind of how I look at them a lot of time. It's, was I entertained? And with this one, I was at least entertained enough to want to give the sequel a try. It's not one of my favorite movies, but it is the first one that successfully crossed the fucking David Ayer police street level crime drama with a higher level fantasy Lord of the Rings style world.
Yeah.
And what the fuck other project can say that? None. So I gotta give credit where credit's due. Bright did something that has never been done before, and while it was clunky in its execution, I still think it was unique enough in its execution to warrant at least some praise, and definitely warrant a sequel viewing. So.
Well, and my final thought is, I don't think they could have theatrically released this film. I think they knew the whole Netflix thing, and so that they were able to pull back a little bit. They didn't spend that extra $20 million.
Right.
They just said, okay,
well, they didn't have to spend. Excuse me. Sorry, they didn't. Let me pause. They didn't have to spend double the budget on, or they didn't have to spend the equivalent of the budget on marketing.
Right.
Because it was a Netflix release.
Right. But I think they still did spend some money marketing it because
some, but not
I
the
saw
usual
a commercial
amount.
for it. Yeah. And then Netflix also made that other movie Spectral, which
Yeah.
I really liked it. But again, I want Netflix to keep making big budget films, so I'll give this a B.
Okay.
Piggybacking on the marketing thing, they did a lot of different things to market this movie too. Like they did like I don't remember exactly what show it was, but it was like orcs would show up on Jerry Springer. type of thing.
Okay.
So they did a lot of little plugs with shows like that.
That's smart. I'd like to see that.
Like I
that
said,
could be really funny.
They had
She's my wife. No, she's my wife.
They had to do it different, but like I said, I think they.
You are not the
executed it well
orc.
enough. Got a lot of press, so.
Yeah, well, you know what? It was at least a successful
Netflix film.
Netflix attempt at something different.
Yeah.
You know, it might not have been the best movie ever, but it was uniquely its own.
Yeah.
Even in its borrowing of other franchises. You know what I mean? So I think overall that is a successful film. You guys might not have liked it. That's fine. We enjoyed it enough to give it a positive review. So if you have Netflix, watch it. It's free.
Yeah,
Why
what
the
the
hell
fuck?
not?
Why
I
not?
mean, it's, you know, if you don't like it, fine. No skin off your ass. You lost a couple of hours, but you got to see some cool effects.
If you don't have Netflix, find somebody that does have Netflix.
Exactly. Borrow their key.
illegal.
They can add you
Don't do
on.
that.
Let us know in the comments down below if you guys saw this one and what you thought of it. We are way late on this review, so it won't surprise me if everyone has
We're
a
not that
comment.
bright.
But we're fine with that. Let us know in the comments what you thought. Thanks again. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Andrew Mercer.
Hey!
Remember,
Stay scared.